And so just to show you, I got Galactus here at CL 1390. I got Galactus from a collector's reserve at collection level 1390 right here. It's my account. Got Galactus. I mean, what can you do? So hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. Today, I have for you probably the most requested video on my channel, which is Galactus. When I stream on Twitch, people request Galactus videos. On my YouTube comments, I have Galactus videos. So here it is. It's the Galactus deck. I was waiting for, like, literally anything to make Galactus, like, ramp work. The deck is called Electro Please because I was manifesting Electro for, like, 5 days. And I don't find Electro, but I find Psylocke, and I'm like, you know what? At this point, Psylocke is good enough for me to make a video on Galactus. So this is Galactus, like, budget, even though Galactus is, like, one of two rarest cards in the game, so it's not really a budget deck at all by that means, but, like, it's only pull 3 cards in Galactus. So this is the Galactus deck, and let me break it down how it works. So Hood is in there, and I'm not sure if Hood is actually good yet. I do like having the Demon, but I also just got Hood last night, and I've wanted Hood for a really long time, so I'm testing with Hood. You got to keep in mind, I have Galactus, but I don't have a lot of the other cards that make Galactus really good. Like, this deck is still actually really strong, where Galactus might just be, like, stronger than I initially thought. And I won, like, a lot of cubes with this deck. But so, let's kind of break down what we have here. So, Psylocke is just a ramp enabler. Psylocke and Wave are both just 2 cards that ramp Galactus and let you play it earlier. Wave is the best at this, because you can play Wave turn 3, you can play Galactus turn 4. And then turn 5 and 6 are really, really simple. I'll get into that later. Psylocke means you can play Psylocke turn 4, and then you can Galactus turn 5, which is also really good. Having Galactus turn 5 is also really good. Admittedly, Psylocke is a lot worse without, like, Death and Null, which seems to be very useful for Galactus, but it's still good. Scorpion is in the deck, because Scorpion allows you to kind of reduce just the stats in your opponent's hand. It's pretty self-explanatory in that sense. But when you play Galactus and you're just playing for one lane, all the cards in their hand having minus stats is actually really important for just, like, kind of nudging above them, especially when you don't have, like, Death and Null. Wolverine is actually so good. The buff Wolverine is so good in this Galactus deck. Do not cut Wolverine, in my opinion. If you have, like, all of the cards to make the, like, top-tier Galactus deck, using the other pull 5 cards, you have everything you need. Maybe you can cut Wolverine, but I wouldn't cut Wolverine. I think Wolverine won these so many games. It's so good. So, if you play Wolverine on 2, and then you Galactus later on the round, if you never blow up Wolverine again, Wolverine is 4 stats, so you spent 2 energy for 4 stats, and then you get to use your other slots for, like, utility, which is very useful. And also, Wolverine allows you to win locations with Galactus that your opponents can't win. Like, Rickety Ridge is an example of that, where, like, Wolverine kind of just scales super well with Galactus, and Wolverine can actually get blown up twice when you Galactus. If you Galactus, and Wolverine's lane gets blown up first, Wolverine can go to the other lane that hasn't been blown up, and then get blown up again, and then go to Galactus finally. So Wolverine can go from 2 stats to 6 stats, like, basically instantly off of Galactus, which is really cool and very powerful. Green Goblin and Hobgoblin are both here, because similar to Destroyer, on turn 6, you're blowing up all the other lanes, so anything else you play doesn't matter. You also don't want to play stuff to a certain lane, where if you know, like, there's going to be a good lane for Galactus, you can just Green Goblin and Hobgoblin that lane, and they're minus 11, and that limits the amount of spaces they have to play with. Also, just for, like, an honest game, which I've won a few honest games in this recording, by the way, Green Goblin and Hobgoblin are just really good. They're just really great cards, just don't get outed, hopefully. Maximus, also really good. If they draw cards and they can't play into the one lane, it doesn't matter if you draw them cards. It's just 3 energy for 7 stats. Very good. Maximus, very strong. Shang-Chi and Spider-Man are here for, like, that final bit of utility I was talking about, where when you have turn 5 with Galactus, you want a Spider-Man almost always. If you Spider-Man the Galactus lane, you're going to have priority most of the time. Your opponent can't play anything there turn 5. If they play big stuff there, you Shang-Chi. If they don't play big stuff there, you just Chavez, which is the last card here. So, you know, Shang-Chi is correcting for if they play big stuff or if they already had big stuff there. Spider-Man locks them out of playing anything the last turn of the game, so you just have perfect information on what you want to do. And then Chavez, maybe you don't want Chavez in the perfect Galactus deck. I think that's reasonable to say you don't want Chavez in the perfect Galactus deck. But I like the consistency of Chavez, since we don't have some of the other high-end cards. I don't have Death, I don't have Null, I don't have Doctor Octopus. I don't have a lot of cards that I think you want for Galactus, which make it, like, good. Where, if I'm just playing Galactus on turn 6, most of the time I'm gonna lose, where I don't even think it's worth it. Like, if you just play Galactus turn 6, you're gonna lose most of the time. We're having Chavez for the games where your opponent plays, like, a Vision and you Spider-Man, and then it's like, you know, you have a Galactus and a Spider-Man, and then you just need a big card to beat the lane, and they can't play anything there, Chavez is perfect at that, because you always draw Chavez turn 6. You never have to worry about her, like, flooding your draws. She doesn't stop you from drawing Galactus any turn but the last turn of the game, and you really don't want to Galactus the last turn of the game. You're probably not going to win if you just Galactus the last turn of the game, where when you're on, like, the budget pool that I kind of am still, I'm not, like, a free-to-play player by any means, but I don't have, like, pool 4 cards, I don't have pool 5 cards, I don't even have all of pool 3. Chavez is kind of the perfect card for that. So, this deck was really good. Won us a lot of cubes really fast. You have to know that retreating is super important. You retreat games you don't have Galactus. You retreat games where Galactus isn't in sight with ramp. If they snap, you just leave on 1 cube. It's super easy to retreat on 1 cube with this deck. Your opponent also knows 100% to leave. They will not stay for 8 cubes. You will not 8 cube your opponent with this game. You want to snap before you Galactus, or snap before you wave, and you want to Galactus them so you lock them in for another cube. Sometimes you snap and your Galactus gets arrowed or Cosmoed, and that's just unlucky. That's, like, that sucks for you. But you're going to win more cubes if you just always snap before you Galactus, where sometimes you'll get a little bit punished. But you're going to win more games by snapping first, because you're locking your opponent in for another cube before they retreat. Get 2 cubes out of them, and you'll be up more cubes in the long run, and then just retreat on 1 cube. If you can't win, retreat. It's really easy to retreat with this deck. If you don't have wave to go to Galactus, retreat. If you can't Galactus before turn 5, if you Galactus on turn 5 and you only have turn 6, you don't really have a good follow-up, consider retreating. Retreating is a very, very good resource that you have in Galactus. It's very good for climbing because of that, where you're going to be -1 cubes a lot of games, and you're going to be up 2 cubes a lot of games because your opponent retreats. The easiest way to get, you can get 4 cubes with this deck by snapping well. You can get 4 cubes by this game by your opponent snaps early, but you have a good Galactus lineup, because Galactus is kind of like a cheater card, because Galactus invalidates a lot of strategies your opponents are doing. They just have like a generically good hand and they snap. Like they have Lockjaw into Wasp, like Thor, like something like that. And you just Galactus the lane. It doesn't matter if they had a good hand. If you snap before you Galactus and you lock them in for 4 cubes and then they retreat before the game ends, that's like, you can cheat cubes like that. But this deck's really good. I did something a little bit different in the deck tech. In the gameplay, I'm actually doing like voiceover commentary where I'm explaining my thought process and explaining what's going on. So I'm just testing that. I'll see, how it does. If you want to see gameplay live, feel free to check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/homeboymaxwell, where all of my footage will be live. I am probably going to do a stream tonight, maybe playing some more Galactus. I hope to see you there. I hope you enjoy the gameplay. I am doing like the voiceover commentary, so let me know if you like that or you don't like that. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow for my next Marvel Snap video. So game 1 is kind of like the classic, like, good hand from the Galactus deck, where I have turn 2 wave, and then I can turn 3 Galactus, which is insane, and it doesn't really happen. And so I snap turn 1 because I want to lock them in for the extra cube, right? But you're kind of in this awkward spot where you're worried they retreat if you turn 1 snap so early. But Elysium is so good for both sides, where I think it's definitely worth it. And then you see Murder World pop as the second location. So I play Wave to Murder World, because I know I'm not playing Galactus into Murder World. And then it's just a debate of, do I want to play Galactus into Elysium, or do I want to play Galactus into the revealed location next turn? And so the revealed location ends up being Sinister London. I don't really care about Sinister London, so I just say, whatever, Galactus can go into Elysium. And then I can Shang-Chi and Spider-Man in the same turn if I need to, which probably won't happen, but it is cool. I can Maximus and Shang-Chi in the same turn now. Like I have options if I play Elysium, and I think it's very good. So I don't want to Spider-Man next turn because I want to lock them out turn 5. So that's what's going through my head right now. And I think, okay, I don't want to Maximus, I don't want to Psylocke, I Hobgoblin. My opponent gets really mad at this point and just ropes every turn, it seems like. Or maybe like something comes out, maybe they're not mad. But they just end up roping every turn, so I'm kind of cutting the footage. So they play a Vision, my Hoblin goes off, and I say, okay, Spider-Man, Maximus, it doesn't matter if they draw 2 cards, this adds 10 power, and they can't play turn 5. So if they play something big, I can Shang-Chi. If they don't play something big, I just America Chavez. And so they just pass, maybe setting up for like a She-Hulk or something, but also they like rope for the rest of the game, so I just think they're angry. And so I draw Chavez, and I mean, again, something real life can happen. I just check to make sure I snapped, and I play Chavez because it is unlosable from this position. My opponent retreats. That's an easy 2 cube, kind of like the dream Galactus game. The next game, we have Machine World. I don't know if Hood is actually good in this deck, but I just got Hood, and so I'm really excited to play with him. But I think it makes sense in Galactus, where if you Galactus turn 5, having Hood as like having a 6 power demon in your hand for 1 energy is really good because you can go like demon into like I don't know Shang-Chi or something. And so we play it into Machine World just because we're not playing Galactus into Machine World. And then there's Attilan in the middle. And so to Attilan, I just want to dump out my hand, so I'm the most likely to draw Galactus again. So I end up playing out Wolverine and Demon here, just because I want to have the least amount of cards in my deck so I can still draw Galactus. So I play the Wolverine, I play the Demon. I think about where I play it. I can't play it to Machine World because it adds power there. I can't really play it to Lechuga either, because then when we redraw, I'm likely to draw rocks. So I just add the Wolverine and the Demon to the middle to try to maximize my odds of drawing Galactus after the Attilan. My opponent goes Carnage and Demon, so we are actually winning this space a little bit, which is good. Don't find Galactus, which is fine. But we do find Hobgoblin and Green Goblin, which are 2 cards I love. Like, I'm absolutely crazy about. Still don't want to play to Lechuga because we don't really want to, like, get rocks. But since it is the 4th turn, we only have 1 more turn to draw Galactus because of Chavez. So I decide to go for it because I think, okay, they're not playing to Lechuga. I make them -11 with Green Goblin and Hobgoblin. And then, like, I can probably just win an honest game at this point, right? Like, I can just win with Maximus, Shang-Chi, and Chavez, because they can only play 1 card per turn with Electro, and they're -11 on the right now. I'm winning middle. And they go Doc Ock, which really surprised me. I have exactly 4 cards in hand. They're -11 there. And so now I have a bunch of energy next turn, my own Electro. And then I get a... Maximus, I draw them cards. I have a bunch of power here. I get a Shang-Chi to blow up their Doc Ock. So it's -11 to 13. And so at this point, normally you don't really win honest Galactus games, but I think this game's actually winnable. And so I draw Chavez. And my thought process is, I'll pause here for a second if it goes too long. Play Chavez middle, because if I play Chavez middle and they play Death, because remember, they can only play 1 card. So I'm thinking the biggest thing they can play is 12. Like a Magneto, a Death, something like that, right? I had 9 to go to 19. They had 12 to go to 20. But it could have been reduced from the Scorpion. So I'm thinking they don't have like a bunch of power to play middle. So I think I just win tiebreakers, right? Because it's 13 to 11. I can't win the left if I can't win left if I play Chavez left. And it's only for 1 cube. So I play Chavez middle to try to play for tiebreakers because it's -11 to 13. And I think this is, like, honestly, like, a pretty safe line because, again, I Scorpion them. They can play 1 card. And I think I'm in, like, a pretty decent position. And they Shang-Chi. And since it's reduced, I actually tie because it was reduced off of the Scorpion. And I win in tiebreakers. I win an honest game without Galactus because of tiebreakers, which is really funny. And you'll see a few honest games here, which I think are pretty funny. So I think if you're playing optimal Galactus, you might just want to retreat every single game where you get Central Park, just because it saves you time. Like, you can probably just play games faster if you just retreat on Central Park. But I like to play for content, is the biggest thing, where I decide to stay in. But I think if you just retreated every game with Galactus, you wouldn't be that crazy. I see they play Angela. And so I think to myself, okay, that lane isn't winnable. So let me play... But I'm thinking, like, maybe there's a world where they have Killmonger or something. So I play Wolverine into the Angela path. Because I'm thinking, there's no way I'm Galactusing there. And then luckily enough for me, they play an Atom Warlock. And at this point, I'm thinking they're like some kind of Mr. Negative deck. So I decide to Green Goblin the Bar Sinister, which is an amazing play. Not like it's super cool that I do it. I just think it's really cool, like, that you can do that. Where all of the Green Goblins, except for 1 because of the stupid squirrels, go to their side. So now it's like -2 to -8 or something in the middle, and they can't play anything there. So I have 1 middle, and I'm thinking, okay, I can't Galactus, but maybe I can win. So they see my turn 5. There is a turn 7 with Limbo, and I think to myself, okay, so I don't want them to Professor X right. If they Professor X left, I probably just can't stop it. But I think, like, if they're Daredevil, worst case they Professor X, I'm going to lose anyways. So I decided to just dump 9 stats here, knowing that they can't Professor X me. I give them 2 cards off of the Maximus, and then I play the Scorpion, so both of the cards have reduced stats off of the Scorpion. And at this point, I still think they might be like a Mr. Negative deck. I'm just not sure what they're doing. And I think my opponent snapped there. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, I'm winning middle. Like, I'm just going to play it out. I'm just going to see what happens. Like, it's 1Q. Who cares? So Maximus and Scorpion happen, and I am correct. They do Professor X. I think I was getting Professor X either way. And so it just became a matter of what lane do I think is more winnable, and I just thought right was more winnable. And so I draw, because of Limbo, there's a last turn here. I think to myself, if I Spider-Man and they play a big card, I'm going to lose to the Spider-Man. So I decide to go for the Hobgoblin to just reduce their stats there. Now it's -5 to 10. And I'm like, okay, they're still playing. And I'm kind of like scared, where I'm like, okay, I just Chavez, right? But then I think, oh my god, wait, like, why are they still playing? You know what I mean? Like, they have to have something. And so I start thinking to myself, oh my god, are they a Destroyer deck? Because if they're a Destroyer deck, they will win middle because I'm -2 because of the stupid squirrel, and the last green goblin didn't go over. They win left, and then I would win right, but I would lose 2 lanes. And I'm thinking, oh my god, if they're Destroyer, like, I'm screwed. Because I'm thinking, okay, Daredevil, Professor X, and maybe, like, Angel and Adam Warlock, it could be, because I've seen weirder stuff, like people play Ant-Man and Destroyer, and I'm like, okay, so maybe this is lost for me. And I start thinking to myself, is there a way where I can play around both? Like, I can just say, like, okay, like, how can I beat Destroyer, and how can I play for middle? And so I end up deciding that Wave and Spider-Man is kind of like a pretty good split, where I add 6 to the middle for tiebreakers, and then I'm still playing 13 to the right. So if they're not Destroyer, but they're just playing a big creature, I'm still winning. So this is just a little bit safer than Chavez. And to my surprise, they play a Valkyrie. Of all things, they play a Valkyrie, which makes a lot of sense in hindsight with the Angela and the Adam Warlock. But I'm like super winning tiebreakers here on their snap. I played to middle, and so I kind of just played for both lanes, where I win another like honest game with Central Park without Galactus, which is kind of hilarious. Not even expecting the Valkyrie, thinking there was something else, but it worked out. Here I think I make a slight mistake where I play the Hood to Fist Tower, but I think maybe I'm supposed to play the Hood somewhere else. I play the Hood to Fist Tower because I just think it's not like a really relevant lane. But like honestly, Fist Tower is pretty neutral if I Galactus it, where I think maybe I'm supposed to just like play it somewhere unknown, and then I can just Galactus Fist Tower potentially, because I kind of almost like want stuff to die. But at this point, I'm like, okay, it's like honestly probably not a big deal where I just play the Wolverine there too, because now the Hood and the Wolverine get blown up by Galactus. Morag makes things complicated, where now I can only Galactus the Bifrost at this point, and the Bifrost is going to move everything over. So I draw the Galactus, but I don't have any ramp for Galactus, so I can only play Galactus turn 6 right now. And I can't play Galactus to Morag, so I have to either leave the Bifrost open for if I draw a ramp, or I have to only play to Fist Tower, so the Bifrost will move cards into the Bifrost itself, and I can just play Galactus into Fist Tower. So I just decided to pass. I don't play the Demon, in case I do draw ramp for Galactus, so I can play like Demon something else turn 6. And I draw Scorpion. They decide to snap, and I think this looks a little rough for me, but again, I like to play for content, so I decide to play it out. And I'm just playing a Scorpion here. I think the Scorpion's really useful in Galactus, because you end up just kind of like winning those little tiebreakers by a small amount. And they end up playing a Sandman, which is actually really smart here, because their Sandman goes into the Bifrost. They have a Sandman and Morag is inaccessible for me at this point. Like, there's no way I can play to Morag at all. And I'm like, oh shit, like I can't like compete with the Morag, but I can Hobgoblin the left and then Galactus. So I Hobgoblin the left. They're at -8. They play a Captain Marvel, which isn't like really relevant at all against Galactus. It's just like an underpowered creature at this point. But if I Galactus, I'm adding 6 to their -3, because if like minimum, if Wolverine only dies once, it's a 4-statted Wolverine, so I have 6 on the left. I already can't win the other 2 lanes. And they play a Doctor Doom. And so this actually like wins me the game without even the Wolverine. But so it just kind of goes to show how strong Wolverine can be in this deck, where Wolverine only dies once, doesn't go to Morag, but because the Wolverine dies and then comes back to left, I actually win against like the Sandman deck with Galactus on the last turn. I don't ramp at all, and I just play Galactus on the last turn to kind of hold it down. So Avengers Compound, I think, is kind of annoying, because I don't really think I want a Galactus Avengers Compound. But I think there's, like, a chance. That's kind of the biggest thing I'm learning with just, like, playing this deck is, like, what locations are the best to Galactus. So I have the Wave, I have the Psylocke, so I have the ramp to get the Galactus. I just don't actually have the Galactus yet. And then, so I draw Scorpion. And so now I'm thinking, okay, do I want to play Scorpion or do I want to play Wolverine? Because Wolverine is really useful with Galactus. But Scorpion is also really useful the earlier you play them, where I just go for the Scorpion. You know, like, there's more cards in their hand, just Scorpion it, right? And then I draw the Galactus, which is amazing. So I have Wave into Galactus, which is perfect. I play it to the same lane as the Scorpion, because it's, you know, it's just, like, a spot that I can't play Galactus already. It's going to be gone in a second, who cares? And then I'm deciding where do I want to play the Galactus, Avengers Compound or Crimson Cosmos. Crimson Cosmos actually has benefit for me if they have small creatures, like they have Polaris, they have Lizard, they have Agent 13, where I don't want to play to Avengers Compound, because Crimson Cosmos can benefit me more than Avengers Compound can. I realized I made a mistake here where I should have snapped before I showed the Galactus, because now, like, most players probably retreat here, and I'm -1 cube from what I could have been. So I don't snap, and I think that's, like, a huge mistake, because now that I've shown them the Galactus, most players probably retreat here when I snap. But at this point, I'm like, okay, they haven't left. And then also, like, if they just leave, it just ends the game faster, so I just snap anyways. But I really think you're supposed to snap before the Galactus here. That's a huge mistake for me. I could be -1 cube here, and it's a really free cube. Like, if you're going to play the Galactus early, just snap. You know what I mean? Like, even if they have counterplay, just snap. So I play the Spider-Man turn 5 to lock them out. They play Shang-Chi. And because I correct my mistake, I do get the extra cube. But I think that, you know, I easily could have missed out on an extra cube there. Just kind of showing that you really want to make sure you snap before you show the Galactus. Because, like, if they thought they could get me with, like, Shang-Chi blowing up, like, a big card I play here. Like, if I played, like, if they thought I played Death Null, and then they Shang-Chi me, you know, they kind of could get me where they stay in. But I think a lot of players just retreat here. And I think you're -1 cube. Next, we have this game with, like, the dream disruption of, like, Scorpion early, Spider-Man, Shang-Chi. And Spider-Man, Shang-Chi is literally all you need after Galactus. Assuming you don't Galactus turn 5. Because you just lock them out with Spider-Man. If they play something big, you Shang-Chi. They don't play something big, you have Galactus, Spider-Man, and then you're on Chavez. So we snap on the Cloning Vats and the Wave. Because we get to Cloning Vats the Scorpion. And we also have Wave for Galactus. We can't Galactus Cloning Vats, and we don't want to Galactus Grand Central, so we're probably going to end up going to the far right, because Galactus Grand Central kind of lets them cheat something into play that could be problematic, so we are not going to Galactus Grand Central unless we absolutely have to, because then Spider-Man locking them kind of almost doesn't matter, because they just get to play something for free anyways. Let's see, and the last location is Vimeridian Mines, which isn't really good or bad for Galactus, so we just, like, end up playing Wave into the Cloning Vats, because both of those spots are already taken. Like, we can't Galactus the Cloning Vats. So we just Wave the Cloning Vats, and then we set up for Galactus the following turn. We already snapped. You should snap here before the Wave flips if you want to gain the most cubes. They play Lockjaw, which is so awesome for us, because they can play one big thing there, and then we get to Galactus the Vibranium Mines. We reveal first, so we can't get arrowed. Feeling really, really strong here. Where this Galactus just kind of, like, wraps it up, packs it in. This is another, like, cookie-cutter Galactus game where, like, Spider-Man is kind of just all you need to be powerful, and then Shang-Chi just corrects for everything. So, you know, Spider-Man turn 5, can't play anything turn 6. We have 5 stats here, and then we draw Chavez no matter what. We're guaranteed to have 9, where my opponent is kind of forced to retreat after they see the Spider-Man. No reason to play it out. It's kind of bad because they always retreat, and you only ever get 2 cubes, but if you just win 2 cubes every game, that's, like, really good. And so that's what I mean. Kind of just a cookie-cutter game where they retreat when they see the Spider-Man. At this point, we're up, like 10 cubes, by the way. We've just gained a rank in, like, under 30 minutes, which is kind of crazy. I'm so excited to see this. I love Rickety Ridge in this deck because it makes you kind of in this deterministic, unlosable position with Wolverine, where I almost like don't want to play stuff there that are like just fodder minions. Like Scorpion is like a fodder minion, because I want to end up Galactusing there. Like I really want to Galactus Rickety Ridge, especially I have the Spider-Man, so I don't really need to, but it is really cool. So now I play Hood and Wolverine here, because Wolverine grows, and wherever Wolverine ends up is fine, because if it ends up back in Rickety Ridge, we can just correct it, and then it just grows again. We blow up the Hood for its negative stats, and the Wolverine just grows. Wolverine ended up in Hell Kitchen, which is fine. It didn't really matter where it ended up either way. I don't have Galactus, and I want to play for Rickety Ridge, but I do have Psylocke. So I think about Green Goblining, but then I'm like, okay, if I draw Galactus next turn, I can play it if I play Psylocke. So I play the Psylocke, and I think nothing else, just because now I could turn 5 Galactus, and I'm actually in a really strong position if I turn 5 Galactus, the Rickety Ridge, which is kind of the dream we were talking about. So, you know, I'm 1 in 5 to hit the Galactus here, but I think it also just makes the most sense to play the Psylocke. Because it is turn 5 also, like they can't even do anything. So we Galactus the Rickety Ridge, and we are so happy about it. Snap before the Galactus goes off. Honestly, they should probably retreat here, but they don't, I don't think. But man, like what you're gonna see is so cool. I love this Wolverine lock. I think it's so cool that the buff to Wolverine makes this like so good. Because it just like it doesn't just get beat by like an armor or anything like that. Where so I Galactus Rickety Ridge, blow everything up. Wolverine goes to 6, which is cool. And so Galactus and Wolverine are both there the last turn, so you know what's going to happen. They're both going to blow up, and my Wolverine's at 8 power now. And I'm like cheesing at this point. It is the last turn, so I decide to go for Green Goblin to guarantee them having something on their side to blow up. And then I also Demon, and they retreat. A lot of people retreat, which is one of the biggest things about the Galactus. A lot of people will retreat the last turn of the game. But at the end of this game, I'm up like, I don't know, like 15 cubes in like under 30 minutes. I think my recording was like 35 minutes long, and I'm at rank 83. And that's me like learning the deck. Very, very powerful. Very, very cool. Thank you so much for making it to the end of my Marvel Snap video. I'm currently making a Marvel Snap video every day, so if you do enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing. It does help me out a lot. I also stream live at twitch.tv/homeboymaxwell. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you tomorrow for my next video. Have a great day.